right, Skip is back with us, after
Yeah.
skipping out on us and, doing family stuff. I don't know.
Oh yeah. There's
Family,
always something going on.
evidently. So,
So
I
life never ends until it ends, right?
okay, we got a good substitute with Richard Bauer, so
Yeah,
the
he's got the better accent, man. It just, I'm working on getting the Texan out so that it sounds better. And Richard can just run with what he's got. I mean, that's just
everybody
he's got
likes
the
the
great
South
accent.
African accent. It's kind of like an Australian accent. Everybody loves a South African accent.
Absolutely. I mean, you go into your navigation. Nobody leaves. Well, I don't anyway. Nobody leaves the normal, accent. You got to change it to something a little more interesting.
Yeah,
If you're going to be annoyed, at least make it an interesting voice that's annoying you.
Annoying. So this topic today came out of, like, Skip and I have been talking a lot in the community updates every Thursday at 1:00 about how scary the last half of the year is. Like,
Yep.
you have more time January to June than you do July to December.
Absolutely.
And it is like everybody's like, oh, I'll just get this done later. I'm busy right now. I'm doing new projects. I'm working on things. And we get to July, and it's like, oh, we're middle of the summer. Everybody's relaxed. You're getting on some vacations. You are not thinking about Christmas and Thanksgiving and the holidays. At that point, you're just like, oh, well, it's summer. It's relaxing. But then you realize you're in the last half of the year, and 2 of those months are crap. November, December are crap for getting work done.
Yep.
Because everybody's taking vacations, everybody's flying to meet family. At least in the United States, this is the way it is. I'm pretty sure it's the way it is in Canada too. It's just, everybody's just taking off time and trying to get those family vacations in. It's starting to get colder, so you have some bad weather days.
Yep.
And just a lot happens that you just don't have as much time as you think. And so what we notice among our clients is that people buy in like October, November, and September in this panic mode. Oh crap, I need to get this done before the end of the year. QBRs were a thing that I have on my to-do list of being better at. And now I'm going to pull the trigger. Well, we should have pulled the trigger back in January when you had time and you were able to generate revenue and projects and get a grip on your year back in January. But everybody's like, no, I got to do it in October because now you're in panic mode. You're like, oh crap, I'm going to be out of office next week. I'll be office next 2 weeks. And I'm gone in December, towards the end of December. So I've actually got only like 3 weeks. So there's a time in November where I think we usually have for our community updates is where we say, look, guys, you got like 2 workable weeks left for this year.
Mm-hmm.
If you do your year correctly, and we say this every year, you should be done by the end of like the 3rd week of November.
Mm-hmm.
Like the rest of your year should be planning, strategizing, and taking advantage of some change windows so you can implement things.
It's just the little dust up stuff, the little thing. That's the way it should be. So I spend an appreciable amount of time at a Taekwondo studio. Been going there for quite a while now, enjoying that. Great relationships. And so I bring that up because it's completely out of the technology sort of realm, but great relationships with people there. And so we show up and, not only work out, but chat and just about life in general. And it was so funny because just last Wednesday, so just a few days ago, they were kind of laughing at me and they said, Skip, you get stuck you're hitting the analysis paralysis point. We're talking about some fitness stuff, right? And I laughed and I said, no, I'm not hitting it. I live there. And so I'm kind of the poster child for this. But I think
Skip loves the weed.
Yes. Many people experience this to some extent, and it's not just technology. So we start out in that first part of the year with these very good ideas, all right? They are valid. They are useful. They need to be acted on, and we want to do them well. And so we start out, but life, work, customers, all these things keep going on. And we end up in the July, now August timeframe, and it starts to hit us. Oh crap. I've been working on this, but it's not done. It's not happening. And so much flips into high gear, panic mode, all these sort of deals. And not only do we need to recognize that in our own organizations, we need to understand to some degree our clients are in that mode as well. And so, good, bad, or otherwise, right or wrong, ideal, less than ideal, yes to all of the above, it's the situation we're tackling. So we can make it better by doing what we know we need to do and start right now on getting those things done. Close the spreadsheet, quit editing the pivot table. That's my deal right now. And start running with the action items and get those things done.
Yeah, and I mean, Skip knows this about me. Like, I'm more of a man of action, right? I make decisions, and like sometimes I'll be like, Skip, that's a not now thing. We can do
not
that
now
later.
Definitely.
And you have to have that good balance of getting things done and like moving forward, as well as thinking it through. And so, but like when it comes to like your annual planning, you can get stuck in the I'm thinking it through. I'll get there eventually. Sometimes you just need to decide.
Yep.
A plan of action is a bad plan of action is better than no plan of action.
It is.
I'm not sure if I agree with that, but it does make sense in the fact that I watch so many MSPs lose so much cash because they don't make a decision. Don't pick our product, pick somebody else, but pick something so that you can move forward with your year. So you wait until October to implement strategy. So that's what our software is strategic analysis for clients. And you back off and you're like, man, if I would have done this 9 months ago, I would have had $100,000 in my back pocket.
Yes. Yeah.
But you were too busy fighting fires the first half of the year. You had to make a decision. Like, we meet with somebody and then all of a sudden, 6 months later, like, okay, we need your product now. Like, we told you needed it 6 months ago. And then I'll be like, oh my gosh, I should have bought this product.
Yes, I could be so much further down the road. Yep.
Yeah. And it's because this paralysis, we think we have more time. We think that, in the future we'll do this thing. And that's how the year gets away from you.
Yeah.
And it's not just the holidays, the sheer number of holidays in Q4.
Yes.
Q4 is just a crap fest no matter how you look at it. But it's also where your clients are in panic mode as well, too.
Yes.
They're like, oh, crap, we need to think about 2024. Oh, crap, we didn't get all this stuff done this year. And then they reach out to you as an MSP and say, okay, can we get this done now? Can we schedule this? Can we do things? And everybody gets busy. So now you can't plan because now you're twice as busy because your clients are doing the same thing that you did. They're doing. Oh. And so if you can just get into the state of like right now is when you need to be strategizing, like end of summer, you need to be strategizing because you're about to hit that rush in September, October.
And we see that
panic mode in November, and in December, you're going to be like, okay, I can't get a hold of anybody.
Yep. Well, and from an MSP perspective, that next year sort of mindset, again, we have and I really do call it a privilege because I get to interact with so many MSPs literally around the world. And I am interfacing with several of our members right now, and they are in high gear. They're not just beginning. They are well into their 2024 planning. All right. Yep. So just for time frame, this is the first week of August. And these MSPs are deciding what their business is going to look like, what their goals are. They're doing it right now. These MSPs are the ones that have 50, 100, 200 employees. These are the ones that they don't do the $1,000, the $1,500 a month contract. Or if they do, oddly enough, they don't care about them that much, right? They are actively working the small ones or the 5,000 a month contracts, and they have a generous bucket of 20, 30, $40,000 a month contracts. So if you're wanting to grow your business, and maybe you don't want to, you've been in business long enough, and you don't want to be running a company of 200 people. I understand that perspective. But if you want to get that type of larger, more comfortable, high margin revenue coming in, you need to do these similar things. And that's how these larger companies are doing. Their margins are high in these high volume, these high contract companies because they're doing a lot for them. So now is the planning time for that.
Yep.
So if you just, comparison, what are other people doing? And we see it scales all the way down, even to there's admittedly, unfortunately, not as many of them, but the, 10 to 20 employee size MSPs. There's I say there's probably more than I'm letting on. There's quite a few of them out there that we are talking to also that are doing their 2024 planning as well. And those are the successful MSPs. Those are the guys that are not running around with their hair on fire for the last 6 months. Or if they are, it's kind of a good fire because they're capitalizing on their customers' panic mode while they're not in panic mode, and they get to make a lot of money. So now's the time.
And I tell people, like, these MSPs that are planning out in the August, September timeframe, their next year, people are like, oh, well, they're large MSPs. They have time for that. No, they're large MSPs because they made time.
Yes.
They started doing this when they were little, and that's why they grew.
Mm-hmm.
And you all know that this is how life works because the people who planned in their 20s for retirement and started that and started thinking about what the next 50 years looked like, they're the ones that are in their 40s now feeling pretty comfortable.
Yep.
That mentality carried through their life to help them make better decisions across the board. So it's a mentality shift, and that's why these people are successful. They saw it coming. They see the next year, and then they run a plan, and everybody's on the same plan. If you just act, and you're always in the moment, then you're just going to go wherever the winds take you. And you feel that with the economy. You feel that with the ups and the downs, and that you're growing, but not quite what you think. You're growing because of luck.
Yeah.
And because you're a hard worker, but you're not strategic about it. So, like, where are we going to be? What vertical are we going to attack? Which clients are we going to go after over the next 24 months or 12 months? Where are our salespeople going to be? What are our engineers going to do? Do we need more certifications? Do we want to move to a different architecture for the switches in our switch stack or our network stack? What are we doing to get ahead of the Microsoft licensing issues where they're going direct to consumers? They're thinking ahead.
Yep.
They're planning ahead. And because of that, next year, when something happens, they've got a plan or they're working towards something as a company. When you got 20 people or 5 people or 3 people all working for the same goal, suddenly you see a lot more things happen. And in the business world, we call that synergy.
Yep. Well, and so, maybe some of you listening and think, oh yeah, that all sounds great, but what do I do right now? Well, I want to go back to what you said earlier, Adam, about, not good plans or whatever. Sometimes it is just that. So I had a bit of a surprising, but I think a very interesting shift for the positive in my career. And I had a business owner that I was working with, and again, Skip's tendency to get stuck in the analysis paralysis mode. And he came to me and said, I would rather you make a bad decision than no decision at all. And it took me a while to kind of wrap my head around that. Why would you be okay with a bad decision? Or maybe let's not make it so negative. Why would you be okay with a decision that is not as good as it could be? And the answer to that is because if we make a decision and it's not ideal, at least we'll know. We'll have actionable items, and it gives us definite points to work on. Whereas we get stuck in the analysis paralysis, it's all theoretical. It's like, monopoly money. It doesn't really matter. Your strategies may be valid, but unless you put them into action, they don't mean anything.
Yeah.
So now pull the trigger, make a decision, evaluate it. We talk a lot of times about the agile principles that we adopt in our organization, and you make a decision. Now we know, and yes, we'll pivot, we'll change. You're not setting things in stone, but we need to close the pivot table and make some actions. Let's start making things happen. Yep.
Do something, and that's good. And knowing that you're failing, so we call it the fail fast mode. If you haven't heard of this strategy, you make a decision, you commit to it, and then if you realize it's not working, fail, move on to the next thing.
Yep.
Fail fast. I think we may even have a podcast episode on that.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, the idea there being is that by failing, you're moving forward. You're learning how not to do the light bulb. Mm-hmm. You're learning how, okay, I shouldn't go that direction. But you did it because you made a strategy. So with this last half of the year, we always smush everything in there and we keep making the same mistake over and over again. You're not failing. You're just running a really bad plan. If you say, hey, look, it does not work for us to do all of our planning in quarter 4. We need to move it to quarter 3. Mm-hmm. Awesome. You just learned. You said, we are failing at planning in quarter 4. We were waiting last minute to do everything. Let's make decisions in August instead. We will have our run plan for 2024 built by the end of August of every year. And then when it comes to like choosing a product, like what for your stack, just choose, commit. Mm-hmm. I mean, in the corporate world, the rule was look at 3, pick 1. Mm-hmm. And if you follow that general rule, you can stop like saying, oh, someday we're going to look at, a software for planning. Someday we're going to, no, this is, I need to have this in August. I got to look at 3, pick 1, so I can put it in the budget for 2024.
I think that's a bit of a trap, though. That pick 3, look at 3, pick 1. Maybe it's just technical. I'm biased because of what I do all the time, but there are so many options available. If you try to just pick 3 of, an RMM tool or any sort of technical tool, there's not 3, there's 30. How do you even pick the 3 to evaluate? And, we fall into that, especially with technology. So we're always looking, all right, well, what about this one? What about this one? And I think we struggle because which one is going to provide the best value? Which one, maybe you do have a corporate goal.
Perfection is the enemy.
It is. And, if your company goal is, hey, we want to increase revenue by 20%, and you're looking at a tool that you think is going to help you do that, and you're afraid that, well, if we pick the wrong tool, we're only going to increase revenue by 10%. All right. Valid. I get that. But how much revenue do you increase by not picking a tool at all? None. Right. So yes, we made a less than ideal decision, but it moved the needle. We were able to increase revenue. So let's go from there. Now we're 10%. We're at least half the way towards our goal, which is a lot better than not making a decision at all. So move.
Yeah, and that's why I say like pick, have 3, pick 1. And because you can spend all day evaluating everything, creating your little pivot tables and looking at your charts and rating things. But honestly, in your gut, there are 3 that are good right now, and you don't have much time. look at all three, create a little cute little scorecard, and pick one, run it by your team. They approve, and now you've got your run game, and that works. This concept works. And if there's lots of little techniques you can do to like how do you choose your three? Like there's like RFPs you can do. There's little like there's quick evaluations you can do. You can go to Gartner and look at the magic quadrant, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Hey, if they can pay enough to be in that magic quadrant, they must be doing well, right? So the idea you want to keep rolling with is that you're moving forward, picking a good product, or at least picking one and it doesn't work for you, then you can move on to the next one. Now you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's time that you're moving forward. And when we sit there and we postpone everything to the last half of the year, we don't give ourselves the option to do that because we're constantly on the back foot. We're not making decisions. We're just in firefighting mode. Someday I will plan. Someday I will buy a product. You didn't make a decision. You just postponed the decision. And then the last half of the year, I kind of wonder, is that how we get the holidays in the last half of the year? Was it because the people's like, oh my gosh, we need a holiday for this, and like, we forgot to plan it out. So we're gonna throw it in November. Yep. Oh crap, we forgot about and let's throw that in December. And it's just funny because like, oh, we need a celebration. When are we gonna do that? Oh, we haven't gotten together as a town in a while. We should probably really push this winter festival.
Mm-hmm.
So everything happens in the last half of the year because it's a human narrative that we always push things to the last half.
Yep.
Now get ahead of it. And then, as Skip said, when we meet with MSPs who are successful, who are growing, who have a mature outlook on how they're going to do things, they're planning on Q3.
Yes.
And when I worked in the corporate world, the good managers, the good directors had their plans by Q3. In fact, They had a tentative one. So like right now, I'm building my 2025 plan. And it's just a tentative spitball, but it's on my spreadsheet. 2024 is pretty much concrete by now. But 2025 is like, okay, here's where I'd like to be. Let's see how 2024 goes. So then when 2024 ends up and I come in Q3, 12 months from now, I pull up my spitball plan and I say, okay, I need to adjust this a little bit, but here's where we can be in 2025. I'm on the ball. Or that was a bad idea. There's no way I'm going to get to that. I take it off and I replace it with something else.
Yep.
And I'm constantly forecasting. And by doing that, when we're sitting in a meeting and some engineer or somebody comes up with, or Skip comes up with a great idea, I'm like, no, we can't do that now. It doesn't fit into our plan. So I can say no to distractions.
Right.
We're moving this direction. I've got that scheduled for 2025. It's a fantastic idea, but we're not going to do it until then.
Yep. And you don't get a stop on
you plan.
Yeah. And here's the cool part. So, you mentioned something right now, and I can tell you exactly. I was at a conference, and it was in early 2021. And I was listening to a lot of vendors, and, obviously we're always talking to our members. And I was like, we need this in our tool. And so I sat down, out of the office sort of opportunity, no distractions. I was back in the hotel room, and it was probably 2 or 3 hours, just solid, banging out a wire framework of what I want this to look like. And I knew it wasn't time, but I started the conversation, right? Adam gave me the not now, but this business goals sort of idea has been cooking along. And now we've got things as our business is growing that are starting to align, and that's becoming more and more of a reality. Because I've been working it so long term, I'm not going to have to do everything at the last minute to meet some sort of panic deadline. I've got a lot of work, a lot of thought, rethought going into this that's going to help me get there. But at the same time, there have been so many other elements that we've just had to say, now's the time. We're doing this when we need this. We've been able to make the action. So we're saying both things here, do a lot of planning, do your analysis, but you've got to make sure that you are executing on some things. Don't get stuck in, I'm going to make this wonderful master all-inclusive plan that's going to solve all of my problems and make us tons of money.
Yep.
It's not going to happen. Sorry.
My phrase I tell my kids, someday, is the same thing as saying never.
Yep.
And the more you say, someday I will have a QBR process in place, someday I will start doing employee reviews, someday I will do a forecast for my budget. That will never happen. That's why you're sitting here. You've been operating an MSP for 10 years and you keep saying, oh, I should probably do this.
Yep.
And it's because you keep saying it. You used to say, on August 31st, I will have my plan for 2025. If I don't give myself a pay raise. You have to hold yourself accountable. Otherwise, you're going to end up in the last half of the year in panic mode like everybody else, buying random things, doing random stuff that you feel is strategic, but it's not, because you didn't have a plan.
Yep.
If you had said, like, I need a QBR tool in 2025 or 2024, that means you need to have it bought by the end of 2023. If you want to have a employee review process in 2024, you need to have it purchased and ready to go in 2023.
Yep.
And that's not in December, November. That means Q3, Q2. Yes, you're going to pay for it for 3-4 months. And you may not use it a bunch, but you made the decision and you committed to a product. And if you decide to buy it exactly when you need it, you're going to be like what Skip said. Like, he's been planning out this idea of business tags forever, and it's coming along, and we've committed to, that's where we want to go. And we're making the micro steps to get along the way. We won't see revenue from that for a little while, but what we have is a product that is ready for it, is prepared for it. We have a team that's ready for it and prepared for it, and a narrative that fits. And we're moving in that direction because we made a decision to do this thing. And with you, when you buy something or when you're preparing to do something, you can't wait until the last moment. Like, you can't do just in time delivery in operations. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
You got to think ahead. You've got to have the PC on the back shelf. You've got to have the server parts there ready to go so that when you come up to the time, you're ready. You want a QBR process and buy our software? Everybody says, oh, I mean, it's so many times that people buy it last minute.
Yeah.
That, like, and then they're in a rush to get this thing in place. Like, if you would have bought it back in March and spent the last like 3 months, like, kind of getting it in place, kind of getting familiar with it, getting your clients familiar, then all of a sudden this emergency comes up. You're like, I got it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it costs you like $600, you know?
Yeah.
That's it, you know? But people like to wait till last minute and do it last minute. That's why the last half of the year ends up as a big rat race. And that's why I wanted to get out of this podcast here. Is like, stop waiting. Make a commitment. Choose, so that you don't end up doing everything last minute. So the last half of your year is not as long as you think. It is very squished because you're going to shove a whole bunch of other things in there, and the economy is switching things into there. Your families are pushing things into there. So that last 6 months just ends up being a rat race. So that by the time you get to the end of Christmas break, you're exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
Because you pushed everything in. And then you're going to do the same thing next year, where you're going to relax January, February, March, and then you're going to end up in a panic mode again. So it's been a great topic. So our takeaway from this is commit.
Yeah.
Make a decision, make it early, and make it timely. Find that cadence that will work for your team, and you will see your company grow. You'll see your personal life flatten out and get more manageable. And you will start seeing yourself make steps towards things that you want to do rather than doing things that you have to do all the time.
Yeah. I agree. Again, I'm kind of the poster child for this problem. And I really appreciate Adam keeping me on track many of the times. But I see this, maybe just because I identify with it, I see this so many times in our members. I mean, we've been on calls and I can point it out. You're stuck here evaluating all these items. And you've got to recognize that in your organization as well. You know, yes, you need some due diligence. We don't want to be irresponsible, but there has got to be a time when we say, all right, we know enough to not make a horribly bad decision. We're not going to step, into the middle of something that's going to blow everything up. So we need to run with it. We need to make a decision. We make it better, but we're going to make a decision now.
Thank you, Skip, for coming on. People, make your decision. Don't wait till the last half of the year, because the last half of the year is a crap fest. Do it in the first half.
There you go.
Thank you, Skip, and we will see you all next week.
See you.